Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the University of Melbourne. Welcome to the Master of Information and Technology course, and welcome to the Meet Your Course Coordinator session. Please let me know if you can hear and see me, because for some reason I don't see the camera picture showing on my laptop, so I hope you can also see me in a small window. Working fine. Good. Thank you, Richard. If you are a student of the Master of Information Technology course, then you dialed in the correct session. My name is Artem Poliviani, and I'm your course coordinator. I must say that you are extremely fortunate bunch of students, because today you will meet not one, not two, but believe me or not, 6 coordinators. And I will explain why that is the case once we progress through the slides. So please make sure your microphone is muted. Also, please mark your attendance via the link that you see on the top of the slide. I have also posted this link in the chat window of this session. If you will have questions as we proceed through the slides, please type them in the general chat window, and we will do our best to answer your questions at the end of the session. If we will not answer some of the questions, we will post our answers afterwards on LMS, also because the session is recorded, it will be shared with you, and we will also put the slides on LMS. So it will be they will be available to you. So the Master of IT is a very particular course that equally caters to 2 cohorts. One of students that have some or maybe even extensive IT background, and who now are looking for the ways to go deeper into technical and theoretical IT education, and as well as students that have experience in IT, but not necessarily as a focus of their previous studies. One thing that we make an emphasis on in this course, and this is also highlighted on this slide, is teaching you those fundamental, timeless skills that are applicable across a range of IT professions. Because of this variety of backgrounds and skills our students have, we allow for 3 entry points into the course. Each of you, depending on your prior work experience and undergraduate qualification, by now, I believe, is enrolled into either 200, 150, or 100-point program. The 200-point program is designed for students without prior IT experience. So the first 50 credit points in this program, which is equivalent to roughly, well, to exactly 1 semester of subjects, are the foundation subjects meant to fill in gaps in IT knowledge from your prior course of study. The 150-point program is designed for those students who previously have completed a 3-year undergraduate degree with a major in computer science, information technology, software engineering, or related discipline. So these are students that have solid IT background already, and if you are one of the students enrolled in the 150-point program, you will skip the 50 points worth of foundation subjects and will proceed to the core subjects of your specialization. And I will talk about offer specializations just in a second. Finally, some of you had extensive IT experience in the past and were admitted into the 100 points program based on that experience, which is equivalent to 2 full-time semesters of subjects. If you're one of those students, you will immediately start going deep into the essences of your specialization. So each of you is enrolled into one of the 6 specializations listed on this slide. So you can complete the course by specializing in computing, distributed computing, human-computer interaction, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, or spatial. I will not spend much time introducing these specializations now, as in a minute, coordinators of these specializations will give you a brief introduction to them. So now you know why we have 6 coordinators. This is because each of us can sub-coordinate a dedicated specialization. At the bottom of the slide, I posted also a link with some further background about each specialization. This document also contains some materials about your prospective career opportunities in each of the specializations. It is important to know that if you have chosen your specialization, it doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot change it at a later stage. If you consider to do that, I suggest that you contact me and the coordinators that are involved in the coordinations of the involved specializations, right? So the one you're transferring from and the one you're transferring to. Clearly, the earlier you make your mind, the easier the transfer will be, right? Because you will have to match the subject from your current specialization into the subjects of the specialization you are transferring to. Okay, so this slide shows the one-to-one relationship between the 6 coordinators and the 6 specializations of the Master of IT course. So your coordinators are Artem, which is me, Eduardo, George, Chris, Toby, and Stefan. And if everything will go smoothly on the technical side, each of us will now introduce the specialization we coordinate. So Stefan actually will not be present today. He's busy with other duties, and Martin Tomko will replace him and introduce a spatial specialization. So the first specialization we want to introduce you to is computing. This is also the specialization that I coordinate. If your interests in IT reside primarily in the area of theoretical aspects of computation, algorithm complexity, programming, improving real-world processes using IT, using data, for instance, to drive decisions, then computing specialization is a good choice for you. You can also see computing specialization as an overarching specialization, which can give you a broad perspective on the range of IT skills, not necessarily going as deep into the particular aspect of IT as the other specializations would do. So this slide shows a sample course structure, assuming the 200-point program. This study plan fits the entry in both semesters, semester 1 or semester 2. So in the first semester, we recommend that you take the common core, or in other words, the foundation subjects, the 4 foundation subjects listed here in the first column. This recommendation will be consistent across all the specializations of the course. So when we proceed and other coordinators present their specializations, this recommendation also applies. So we recommend that in the first semester, you take 4 foundation subjects. If you do so, you will avoid headaches of choosing which subjects to start with in your very first semester at the University of Melbourne. Right, you will avoid clashes, potential clashes with prerequisites for another subjects, etc. In the second semester, we recommend that you take, if you are a student of computer specialization, we recommend that you take two specialization subjects. So these are Intro to Machine Learning and Distributed Systems. In the third semester, we suggest to take the Software Processes and Management subjects. So the rest of the subjects in the study plan, you can choose from a broad range of elective subjects that are offered within the computing specialization. If you follow these recommendations, as I already said, you will avoid potential problems with sequencing your subjects. Of course, wish you to deviate from this recommended structure, you can always do that, right? So it's not mandatory to follow the structure. If you want to deviate, you can do so, but be careful, plan your study plan wisely so you can complete the program in the dedicated 4 semesters. The study plan also includes a 25 points project, which is worth of 2 subjects. We do not recommend taking the project subject before semester 3. So you will have at least a year from now to learn more about the wide selections of projects we have on offer. This includes research projects with academic supervisors, software projects, etc. Okay, so this was computing specialization of the Master of IT course. And now I would like to pass the word to Eduardo, who will introduce the distributed computing specialization. So is Eduardo already here? He told me he will dial in a bit late. Eduardo, if you are here, please unmute yourself and switch on your camera. Okay, maybe Eduardo is not yet here. Let me then maybe skip the specialization for now and wait to the end. So maybe Eduardo joins us just in a few seconds, so I'll skip it. So the next specialization is human-computer interaction, and George will introduce the specialization. George, are you here?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. So as Artem introduced me, I'm George. I'll be your coordinator for the HCI specialization. Within the HCI specialization, our main focus is to kind of give you the tools and the knowledge to facilitate interactions between machines and users. And by doing so, you'll learn how to design intuitive user interfaces, and also, and very importantly, evaluate these prototypes so that you can improve these interfaces so to make them as usable as possible. And then also, hopefully, by the end of your degree, you'll have the opportunity to work with several novel interactive technology, while also broadening your disciplinary range. So not only focusing on computer science, but also going into design and even a little bit of psychology, as that's quite important when designing with human factors into account. Next slide, please, Artem.
Yeah.
All right, so very similar to the computing specialization within HCI, you have the 4 common core subjects that we recommend that you do in your first semester. And then for the second semester, I recommend that you do evaluating the user interface and designing novel interactions. These subjects are only available on semester 1, so that's why I recommend you doing it on your second semester so that you have the necessary prerequisites to complete the degree on time. Another suggestion would be to complete either web information technologies, information architecture, or social computing early on so that you have the other core specialization subjects complete. And then on your third semester, on your second year, you could then complete the final advanced core subject, which is fieldwork for design. So similar to the computing stream, We have a project which is 25 points, but there's a small difference in the HI stream is that we also offer an advanced project. So that's another 25 credits that you have to complete first the normal, the traditional project, then move on to the advanced project. And this one is not mandatory, but it's more catered for those of you that might have an interest in research and path to academia, PhD, and so on within HEI. And the last thing that I want to bring up is tomorrow there's going to be an event focused on user experience in HEI. So this is a great opportunity for you to look at the latest developments in industry regarding HEI. So it will be a panel of alumni who are experts in the field, and they will discuss opportunities and challenges. So I'll paste the link to the event in the chat, and I highly recommend those interested in the field of HEI to attend and get a bit more information about the field and the stream. Thank you.
Great, thank you, George. So the next specialization is artificial intelligence, and Chris will introduce it to you.
Hi, I'm Chris Eager. I'm the stream coordinator for the artificial intelligence stream. So the focus of this stream is on machine learning, so algorithms that can learn, plan, and make decisions. There's a lot of broader subjects you can take in topics like computational modeling, including modeling specific situations, like looking at problems in health or government. There are also courses you can take on planning and simulation, and courses on how to develop computer systems that can understand the more complex data that computers are faced with in the world today. So algorithms to understand natural language, for example. Next slide. So the basic structure of the AI stream is similar to the other ones that you've seen. In the first semester, you would take the foundation subjects, which set you up for understanding the more advanced topics in artificial intelligence. The main thing that I recommend in this stream is that as soon as you finish the foundation subjects, I would recommend that you take the introduction to machine learning, because that's a really central core topic for this stream, and it's actually a prerequisite for a lot of the more advanced subjects. Otherwise, you can kind of choose the order in which you take the subjects. The stream is a little more restricted than some of the others, so there are more required subjects and fewer electives. And it can help to sort of plan in advance which subjects you really want to take, because some of them are only offered in one semesters. So for example, in this example, I've suggested taking computational modeling and simulation and natural language processing, but those are only offered in semester 2 and semester 1 respectively. And I think they both have introduction to machine learning as a prerequisite. And as in the other streams, we do have a capstone project in the final semester where you would work on a more applied or perhaps more theoretical problem in artificial intelligence.
Thank you, Chris. So the next specialization is cybersecurity, and Toby will present it to you.
So unfortunately, this slide is very animation heavy, which isn't going to work at all because you're controlling it, Artem, and I'm speaking. But anyway, the purpose of this slide, you may as well just skip through a few animations there, Artem. Yeah. And I'll just, so essentially the purpose of it was to explain to you guys, taking the specialization that, yeah, stop there, that cyber essentially builds on your foundational knowledge of a few concepts and things that are covered in those foundation subjects, which were the green bubbles on the slide that of course you can't read because they're now obscured. And then the blue things on there are essentially some specialized topics that we, or that you have the opportunity, I suppose, to study within this degree. So if your interest is around things like software security and vulnerabilities, we have subjects to cover that. If your interest is around how to engineer highly secure systems, there's a subject about that. If your interest is around applying machine learning to cybersecurity and how to, say, detect vulnerabilities on the network, you know, there's a subject about that too. Or if your interest is more around things like incident response and the human aspects of cybersecurity, there's also elements there. So there's a range of things that the degree covers and caters for, depending on your interest, right? Okay, so you can skip ahead now, Artem, to the next one. Okay, great. So on the sample course plan here, following those foundation subjects, you can then see a range of the things, the kinds of things I've just been mentioning here. So the cyber stream, it does have a bit of room for for maneuvering in there. But the good thing about it is because we've got such a broad range of coverage in that particular stream, you do get a chance to expose yourself to a number of different areas, as I mentioned on the previous slide. And this course plan is really designed to allow you to touch on as many of those as you can within the time of the degree. Of course, you can branch out into other things too if you want to do that. But anyway, get in touch with me if you're interested more. Awesome.
Thank you, Toby. Okay, the next specialization is spatial, and Martin will present it.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me all right. So I'd like to introduce you to the spatial specialization. Spatial is all about data that are multidimensional and include at least 2, 3, possibly 4-dimensional, including space and time. And we're all interested in how such data are specific and how we manage these data in databases, for instance, how we analyze them and visualize them, because they have all particular problems that come from scale and resolution that stem from the inherent uncertainties in measurement and in the way how computer systems handle multidimensional data. So if you take the spatial specialization, you will be exposed to data from the global scale through to more detailed models that capture entire cities or precincts, all the way to individual spatial assistance systems, such as your in-car or pedestrian navigation systems. And you will understand how the technology that underpins them works and how these data are collected and analyzed. Next slide, please.
Yep.
As you see from these few clouds, spatial data are currently omnipresent. We really are in the midst of an explosion of the ability to capture data about the world around us. And therefore, we need people who are able to analyze them efficiently. So you will be exposed into concepts from imaging and computer vision and remote sensing, which means spatial satellite sensing of the natural environment, for instance. You'll be exposed to methods in spatial artificial intelligence that includes geostatistics, spatial machine learning and simulation, and also natural language interaction with spatial data, that's descriptions of things around us, and for instance, the Alexa-based interaction with maps. And you will be exposed to aspects of digital engineering, smart environments, and spatial human-computer interaction in familiar aspects of cartography, but all the way to visual analytics. All of these spatial data, often attached to people, have an inherent aspect of ethical handling of these data, which is really important, for instance, even in the current COVID pandemic. So you will be exposed to the considerations for ethics as well. Next slide, please. With a spatial specialization, you will be equipped on top of a traditional computing background that gives you a leg up or a competitive advantage in many industries. And you see on this slide just a few logos of companies that are heavily invested in spatial, all the way from Google and let's say the Post here, and many other companies that are involved in logistics, transport, and spatial data analysis that employs spatial data scientists with a spatial twist. So I think it's an exciting prospect. And on the next slide, I will introduce you to the structure of this subject, of this course. You see exactly the same skeleton as you have seen before. This is presented from the perspective of starting in semester 2 or in the later semester in a year, where you would take your foundation subjects and then you would follow up in semester 2 with the only main prerequisite in this stream, which is Foundation of Spatial Information. And you can then have a selection of core subjects such as spatial data infrastructure, spatial information programming, spatial databases, information visualization, and spatial analysis throughout, and a choice of electives, including remote sensing, building information modeling, advanced imaging, and others. As all of the other streams, this one also wraps up with a 25-point spatial IT project, which is a research project, an individual research project, where you can immerse yourself into depths of a particular research question. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Let me quickly check if Eduardo has joined the call to present the distributed computing specialization. If not, I will say a few words about it. Eduardo, are you here? All right, I guess I will just introduce it briefly. So distributed computing, right, goes into those technologies that that look into how you can distribute your computations, like cluster and cloud computing, right? Networks, sensor networks, Internet of Things, etc. Look into big data, information visualization, things like that. And the sample course plan is shown here. Again, the first semester is full of foundation subjects first semester, and then you go into specialization subjects. Some of them are common to the other specialization as well. So distributed systems will be core subjects here, and then you progress and fill it in with your study plan with elective and advanced specialization elective subjects. So I see that also questions are flowing in about specializations. Can we take 2 specializations? No, you need to choose 1 specialization and graduate with 1 specialization at the end of the course. Can we switch specializations in the middle of our course? Yes, you can switch technically. You can switch your specialization well throughout the course. But the earlier you do that, of course, the easier the change is, because you will need to match and transfer the subjects, right? So you will, for example, the foundation subjects are common to all the specializations, but then as you progress with specialization subjects, elective subjects, this can differ for different specializations. And right, if you transfer and are not capable of transferring certain elective subject, let's say into another specialization, you will need to retake a subject in your new specialization. So to make the transition smoother, try to plan wisely. Let's say, for example, you are deciding between 2 specializations. So try to plan your study plan so that you take subjects that are shared between those specializations, and maybe you take 1 elective which is particular to 1 specialization, and another elective which is particular to another specialization, to get a taste of these specializations, and then you decide and make your final choice. For the course plan, are these subjects for electives recommended? Sorry, I'm not quite sure what do you mean. Right, all electives are electives, right? You decide which electives you would like to take. So there's a long list of elective subjects offered for each of the specializations, and then you decide which ones you want to take.
I mean, so one response to that, I think, Artem, would be to say that these are, I guess, a sample choice of the electives that if you don't know what to take, right, you could use these as a first guess, right? When we were thinking about, which electives to write on these slides, right? Certainly when I wrote the ones for cyber, I was like, well, if you have no idea about what you want to take, you could use these as a starting point, right? And I'm sure the other coordinators were thinking similarly. So it's not that they're necessarily recommended. You should, as Artem says, you should make your own judgment about what electives you want to take based on your own interest. But if you're not sure, you could use those as a starting point for your thinking, right?
Yeah, so thank you, Toby. I now see where confusion may come from, right? So here you see a distributed computing study plan, which is already pre-filled with all the electives. It's again, it's not mandatory that you follow them as in on this slide. It's just a recommended structure for your study plan. Electives you can decide and change the order in which you're taking them upon your decisions, right? So this is the process you are driving, if you decide to switch specialization, I recommend that you contact me and also the coordinators of the specializations that are involved in the transfer, right? And then we will look closely into how this transfer can be implemented with a least pain for you and losses in the credits of the subjects that you have already taken. Okay, all the specializations seem fascinating to me. Thank you. That's really the case. Should I just flip a coin at this stage? I'm reading the question from the chat window. Well, flipping a coin if you want to put your future in the hands of destiny, you can try that. But again, so first semester, right? First semester is full of foundation subjects. These are all common to all the six specializations. So if you take them, you are not yet making the final decision. So spend this first semester maybe thinking deeper and more carefully which specialization you want to pursue in the future. All right, so let me go to the next slides. So now you need to be curious about your next steps. So we are now here at the end of July. This is the orientation day, end of July. And now you should all be looking into enrollments and finalizing your enrollments for the first semester. There are some deadlines for that. So there is last date to enroll, which I believe is 14th of August. Please also verify this information regularly because in these uncertain circumstances that we live in, things can change, but last time I checked it was August 14. So this is a date you should kind of finalize your enrollment. But also the important date is the census date. Census date is currently 21st of September, and this is a date by which you need to finalize your enrollment, and well, if you basically change your let's say your decisions, or you later fail the subject you enrolled in after that date, you will have financial implications, right? So to avoid financial application, you can still unenroll from a subject before the census date. So this is very important, and please pay close attention to that date and how you finalize your study plan before that date. So this date was also extended by 2 weeks given the current situation, COVID pandemic. So plenty of time to make your final decisions. So last day to withdraw without fail is October the 2nd. That means if you withdraw, you will have financial penalties, but you will not fail a subject, will not be shown up in your study plan as a failed subjects. And then, yeah, so these are the important days to keep in mind with respect to enrollment. And to finalize your enrollment, you go to this web resource, students.unimelb.edu.au, and you'll find all the information there that relates to advanced standing applications, right? So you can apply and be granted advanced standing for your previous studies. So let's say you took a subject which is very similar to the one that is offered in our course. So you can apply and get approved for credit points for those your previous studies. So submit an application and then it will be assessed by the team. About changing subject, timetable clashes, all the things that are concerned with enrollment, you can find on this web link. One maybe important thing to mention here is that if you're planning to apply for advanced standing, do it sooner rather than later. We would like to finalize all the advanced standing cases by the end of the first semester of your studies, right? So you'll have higher chances also if you apply earlier. Managing your enrollments online. So you manage all your enrollments online, and sometimes you may encounter problems that something doesn't work out, and that may be the case because you're trying to take a subject which is not listed as an elective subject or specialization subject under your specialization. And I also saw one question in the chat window: what if we would like to take a subject from a different specialization? Can we do that? So the answer is yes, you can absolutely do that. To do that, you need to submit an enrollment variation form requesting to include a subject that is not in your specialization into your study plan. So in general, we allow up to 2 such study variations. So we allow our students to take 2 subjects, up to 2 subjects outside of their specialization. So for example, if you are taking a computing subject and you would like to take a subject from HCI or artificial intelligence, you can do that. You submit a study variation application, it is assessed, and if everything is fine, you haven't taken more than 2 study variations, it will be approved. What are the requirements for the subjects you want to take as study variations? Well, this needs to be, first of all, IT-related subjects. That pretty much applies to all the MIT subjects. But you can also look for IT-related subjects in other courses, let's say Master of Information Systems, software engineering, computer science, even in the Faculty of Math. If we see strong relation to IT and the subject covers the skills that will empower your repertoire of skills in IT course, we will approve that subject. So that's a bit of flexibility here that allows you to choose a subject that you're really interested in, and you get the best experience from the course. Why 2 subjects? We don't allow more subjects, so please don't approach us with a request to do more subjects. We keep a very close eye on this rule because, well, at the end, you need to graduate in IT. Right? You need to graduate in IT, and if you will take many specialization subjects, let's say in math department, well, your degree will no longer be accredited by as a degree in IT. So this is also to protect you and to ensure that your final degree is in information technology. So there's a question for 200-point students who are coming from non-IT backgrounds: how can we best immerse ourselves in IT during our first semester? So again, this is an easy answer. You should take the 4 foundation subjects, right? In the first semester, we recommend that you take 4 foundation subjects. These are the codes of these subjects. These are the names of these subjects. So in the first semester, if you worried to deviate from a happy path of IT course, well, just take these 4 foundation subjects, right? Comp 9007, Comp 9038, Comp 9041, and Info 90,002. So missing some zeros here. All right, so this is a recommendation for those who are puzzled which subjects to take in the very first semester. Okay, so study differences. This is just a bit of warnings or maybe some flags that needs to be raised. Some of you come from University of Melbourne, from bachelor studies here in Melbourne. Many of you also come from abroad, from other universities, and probably you will experience some cultural differences during your studies. So just how the way you work here in Melbourne, how the classes are organized, a lot of self-directed learning, active discussions, unscheduled class times, writing styles. All this can come very new to you, to many of you. So don't rush to overload yourself with credit points, with subjects, right? To follow the general path and use first semester at least to understand the culture and how the things work here in Melbourne. Right. So, for example, this is one quote from one of the students of IT, that the marking system was a bit difficult to adjust to. It's quite difficult to get that H1 mark here. They're much rarer here. So it's quite challenging to perform up to the absolutely top standard. Well, I'm sure you're all top performers. That is why you are here in Melbourne. But just keep in mind that there are some cultural differences, and spend some time to understand and sense them well during your first months here in Melbourne. All right. Examination. So what we know now, that semester 2 will proceed online. So we start with online teaching, unfortunately, right, because of the current situation. If you are in Melbourne, we recommend to remain in Melbourne for the entire study period. So all the way until the final results release date, which is December 11. Well, if you are abroad, well, don't worry. I mean, we are aware that the situation is complicated, and the first semester in 2020, all the exams were completed online. So most likely this will be also the case for semester 2. But if you're in Melbourne, well, we recommend that you stay in Melbourne all the way until the final results release date, because even if you have taken all your exams, right, you may not pass an exam. It can be a supplementary exam scheduled for you. Many things can happen. So final results release date for semester 2 is December 11. Also, I need to warn you about things like plagiarism, collusion, working in groups. We take it very seriously here in Melbourne. So follow the link, read the definitions of these terms, right? So some things may seem totally normal to you, which are totally unacceptable here in our university, right? So don't share your solutions with other students. Don't post them online. Don't just take an easy ride while working on a task in a group. All these things may lead to well, bad consequences. And in the subjects I teach, and well, I'm sure most of the other academics as well, we take this very seriously, and we have very high success rates on identifying the cases of plagiarism, etc. So this can lead to very bad consequences, as I said, up to the termination of the studies. So I recommend, so maybe I scare you too much, that's totally not my intent, is just to inform you, and that you follow the link, take a close look, understand what those terms are and what you need to do to avoid the problems, right? And maybe even unconsciously you can run into a bad situation because of lack of knowledge about things in that respect. So follow the link, check the information. Also, one piece of information I want to bring to you, that there'll be an academic skills session already tomorrow, organized and conducted via Zoom. So here is the information. It's a very useful session with very useful academic skills that will help you to get started with your studies in semester 2. Library, check library resources. They also usually have a lot of trainings in respect to the academic skills, for example, related to doing literature reviews or doing research in a certain area of a certain topic. Many of them are available online. So just keep an eye on what library has to offer. Usually these are very interesting and very useful sessions that they offer for you. Stop one. Stop one is your first point of contact if you run into trouble. So we are here, the coordinators are here, but 95% of troubles that you run into can be solved by Stop one, right? So which is a service offered for students. Some services that they can provide to you are support services, enrollment services, so they can help you to finalize your enrollment, so give a recommendation on enrollment. Of course, you can also approach us coordinators for an advice. Skill and development services, health and well-being, which is very important. All these services they can provide to you. How to contact them? Many of contacts you can find them online. They have frequently asked questions online. You can call them. Well, not probably currently you cannot visit them physically. There are 2 locations in Parkville and South Bank, but when these weird times are over, you can also visit them at those 2 locations. And these are the maps of the 2 locations where the Stop one offices are located. So as I said, also health services, well-being services, also helpful online pages, plenty of information to get you started in the first semester or second semester of 2020, which is the first semester of your studies. Special considerations: if you have some unforeseen circumstances and you cannot complete your assignment on time, or a problem with exam, and these are really unforeseen circumstances that just occurred very close to the deadline or just in the time of the deadline, then you can submit special consideration. There are some example circumstances for that, and the examples supporting documents that you will need to submit, and then your case will be checked, and if everything is fine, will be approved. Of course, you may have also ongoing special circumstances, and again, the examples are listed here. And because of those circumstances, you may look for special considerations like prolonged assignment times or exam times, special materials that assist you in finalizing the assignment or exam, etc. So again, information links are provided take a look, and that's all available to you. So also these are the resources to follow on Twitter and Facebook from Stop One, things like that. Also follow us on Canvas. All of you, I believe, if not yet, will be soon enrolled into the Canvas site. Canvas is a learning management system, right? So if you don't know it yet, you will know it for sure in the coming weeks. And all the materials, including this presentation, will be posted there. So some information about the course, important information about research projects, you'll be able to find there. We are slowly starting this initiative of collecting useful information on this resource with the 6 coordinators of the Master of IT course. Okay, and this slide will be presented by Shenton Chen, who will tell you more about opportunities for enriching your student experience here in Melbourne.
Thank you very much, Artem. And I join Artem and all my colleagues in welcoming all of you to the School of Computing and Information Systems. Now, you may be aware by now that CIS, or Computing and Information Systems, is part of the Melbourne School of Engineering. So in terms of looking at the employability services, you're going to get support from not just the university level through Stop One, but also the Melbourne School of Engineering and then locally at CIS. So the issue here is that there's going to be plenty of opportunities. And most of you are going to be doing 4 subjects because you are full-time students. But I always advise that there is actually a hidden, invisible 5th subject, and that is preparing for your employability. This is important because, you know, a lot of students ask, when should we start looking at jobs? I always say from the first semester you're with us. So one of the key things here is to be aware of all of the opportunities. My job this afternoon is to share with you what are these opportunities. This is just a snapshot. You will find that there's always going to be a lot of information coming at you, telling you about which company is on campus, to talk to students, all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to start by looking at the professional skills series and the industry series, which are organized by the Melbourne School of Engineering. Now, with the professional skills series, we usually have a whole range of workshops and seminars where you get to hear from recent graduates about their strategies in surviving and doing well and thriving in industry. They usually tend to focus on your competencies, things you need to be aware of as you are applying for jobs, strategies for networking, looking at an early career panel, how to get it going, all those sorts of events that are useful for you to attend. And this coming semester, they will all obviously be on Zoom, so it's very easily accessible. I would suggest always try to go for the live event because that way you can ask questions and it's part of the networking process. So that's very important. The second part is we also have an industry series and as part of the industry series, we have companies coming in to talk to students directly and to network with students. So these ones definitely don't just go to the recording, make sure you attend, ask questions and network with the speakers. So for example, you can see that upcoming in August, Telstra, OSI and KPMG are all going to be around and they're going to be looking at talking to students ranging from AI to cybersecurity. So if you're curious about, you know, what are the opportunities for AI or machine learning, what are the opportunities for HCI, go to those events and ask those questions because these people are here to talk specifically to you as part of CIS. So it's really crucial that you rely on that. I think that another example is that we also have Google and Facebook coming. So the issue there is which ones to go to. So there are plenty of opportunities, right? The third one is the university-wide program. So this is through Stop One that Artem mentioned earlier on. So we have, the university is very focused on careers and employability. If you go to the link on careers, you will actually find all sorts of resources on how to build your resume for different countries, how to engage in a virtual interview, how to build your LinkedIn profile, all those sorts of things that really take you to the next level and make sure that you are connected to industry and industry expectations. For students who are interested in working in China, there's even an employability week focusing on China, where the Chinese companies are talking to our students. And this is relevant to all our students here as well, whether you are Chinese or not, and thinking about going to work in China. So you can start to see that Stop One organizes a lot of events, right? And then finally, you've got the CIS series. The CIS is organized generally by me and my team, which is the Computing and Information Systems team. And here are some examples. In fact, tomorrow there's a panel where 5 of our most successful UX HCI practitioner alumni will be back to give you strategies on how to get your first HCI job. So that's tomorrow, 28th of July at 4 p.m. All these events for CIS series are going to be in the CIS students community on your learning management system on Canvas. So Artem mentioned Canvas, you have an MCIT or MIT student group. There is also a wider CIS student group. Make sure you are part of that. Don't unsubscribe from it. Don't think that it's spam because we're telling you about employability, because these are where all the key events are happening. You have to RSVP for it and make sure that you come along and see what they have to say. There's also events coming up in August. You can see on briefing on, what's the difference between jobs for AI and CS and SE and UX and IS, right? All this jargon. Don't apply for the wrong jobs when you are starting to apply. When to apply for the job, all those sorts of things. For international students and the Australian ICT industry, I'm running a special event as well on the 25th of August. So all of these things are happening. And also make sure that you join CISA, CIS, Student Association, or Women in IT and Women in STEM Student Associations, because they help me with organizing all the companies that are coming in to talk to students about working for the companies, all right? And so there are also case study competitions, all those sorts of things, plenty of things. So sometimes students get overwhelmed. Where do I find out all this information? Well, it's very simple. Make sure you check careers online, right? The link there, students.unimelb.edu.au/careers. Make sure you read the MSE Express, which is a newsletter that comes out from the Melbourne School of Engineering on Tuesdays that tells you about all the events. And make sure you subscribe to and check the CIS students and the MIT students group on your Canvas LMS, because you don't want to miss out on these things. It's really important. The next slide that I want to share with you is not so relevant right now, but something to think about once the travel bans are lifted. We have a lot of exchange partners and study abroad partners as well, so where you can spend between 3 weeks to 3 months looking at programs that will be accredited back to your MIT program. So this is something to look at perhaps next year. I just wanted to park it there so that you're aware. We provide a small bursary as well to help students to travel even for summer. There's a question usually about how connected the IT industry is to the MIT program. The answer that you start to see is it is very connected. But the question is whether students take advantage of it or not, whether students come to those events or not. So although a lot of your subjects may have industry guest lectures talking about the topic, in terms of the employability stuff, it's all these other events where we've had students who have come from other universities tell us that there's so much on offer that sometimes they don't know where to begin. So you really need to spare time and put time aside each week to make sure you engage with the industry that we've brought for your convenience. And they are all on Zoom now, so it's really accessible and really easy to get to and ask questions. I think I'm going to stop there and see if there are any questions for me. No questions?
And if you have questions later, you can always drop an email to Shamkun.
Or get connected with me on LinkedIn. I share a lot of job opportunities on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
There are questions about what to do in summer as well. The other thing is that once you finish a semester at the university, you can start thinking about doing internship over summer. Lots of MIT students would tend to do their internship. For those of you who are studying in second semester, students would do their internship either in summer, or more likely they might do it in semester 1 or the following summer. So there's a lot of opportunities where you should start to build and plan ahead, right? So that's for internships. Okay, no questions, it's gone quiet.
Okay, thank you, Shannon. If we'll have questions later, we will answer them via Canvas. So I'll check all the questions in the chat window and answer them later also, and post them on Canvas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. So this is the last slide of this session. Time-wise, we're doing very well here. So if in doubt, never assume that you know something. Contact and get help. And this is basically the pipeline of seeking for help from different sources. Maybe step 4 currently is not really feasible, so dropping by at stop 1. But we hope that all this pandemic situation will be resolved soon, and we will be there on campus to really welcome you physically at the University of Melbourne. So I saw that questions were flowing in the chat window. I also saw that coordinators were answering some of them. I saw one question asking where will be the recording of this session. So there will be some delay with posting this session to you because, well, it is now recorded on Zoom Cloud. Once I get a link, I'll forward it to admin people, and they will then forward it to you. I will also post the slides of this session today on Canvas. And if you have access to the Canvas group of Master of IT, you will see it immediately there. Okay, as I said, I will go through all the questions in the chat window, and if there are some important, precious questions that need to be communicated, answers to which need to be communicated to you, I will do so. Other than that, well, thank you for being with us for this 1 hour. We wish you a very pleasant and productive start of semester 2 and your first semester at the University of Melbourne. Thank you very much, guys, and good luck with your studies. Bye-bye.